Let's unlock the universe's answers in no time, for questions are key. This morning, I dreamt a conversation where I was confiding in a neighbor, to a neighbor? Yes, that's the right preposition too. I was confiding to a neighbor that as a child in elementary school, I once saw James Caan on television with his shirt off, and I thought, wow, that's what I want to look like. That's what a man should look like. And the reason I felt that way was not because he was the buffest guy I'd ever seen or the leanest guy I'd ever seen, but he displayed a type of lean strength. And it would not surprise me if lean strength is a trigger, as an evolutionary trigger of fitness, because our ancestors needed to be strong, but they also needed to be fleet of foot. And so it seems that that body type demonstrated by the actor James Caan in the early 70s demonstrated that. But in the dream, I never got a chance to explore that. For having confided in the neighbor in the dream, the neighbor responded by peppering me with questions. And immediately in the dream, I felt shut down. But that, even though that was a dream, that was not the first time I'd experienced being peppered with questions and feeling shut down. My sister is now a judge, but at one point in our lives, our paths had not crossed for many years. When they finally did cross, she was an assistant. She was a deputy district attorney, and I was so happy to see her. And when I saw her, she was she peppered me with questions, and it made me feel controlled and manhandled, and it made me feel shut down. I'm pansexual, so I've had flirty conversations with men and I've had flirty conversations with women. And there's a certain type of person who, in an effort to seem powerful and wise and insightful, will ask absurd, stupid, controlling questions. Um, and they might impress someone if that someone just fell off the turnip truck. But it doesn't take very long to recognize patterns and to recognize someone who's merely, as Monty Python said, gainsaying, or simply contradicting everything you're saying or the premise of what you're saying, to the point where it's almost like a child playing a game, where it's not a really intelligent person asking a deep question from a place of vulnerability and curiosity, but rather a little yappy toy poodle striving valiantly to hump one's ankle. Have you ever had a conversation with someone like that? It's a real eye-opener. Of course, this reminds me of my favorite quote of the Nobel laureate C.V. Raman. And if I mispronounce his last name, I mean no disrespect. Ask the right questions and nature will open the doors to her secrets. But there's an inference here. Did you catch it? What if we ask the wrong questions? What happens to the doors to nature's secrets? Do they open, or do they shut firmly with a resounding thud? So how then are we to navigate life skillfully? How are we to know what questions to ask, how to ask them, when to ask them, and in which sequence? First, before I tell you how to do it, I'll tell you how not to do it and how you'll never ever know. When we read the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching over and over again, after a while we notice a pattern. We notice that the author does not try to reconcile yang and yin, but rather to identify yang and yin and always caution the reader to always choose yin. According to the text, when we choose yang, even if we have the most lofty sounding motivations, it's going to end in tears. When we come at any problem from a place of being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and even cruel, it may create some dynamic short-term results, but in the long term, it's not going to get you the peace or fulfillment that you desire. But what will? Is there a path that will give us that peace and desire that we are wired to long for, that our oxytocin-oriented reward system yearns for? And the answer is yes. The path of yin. The path of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. The path of the centered spontaneity that is a secondary fringe benefit of a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. Enthusiastically practice mindfulness and meditation for at least 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. And you'll find yourself more and more, you'll find that your choices and your utterances and your deeds more and more become flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. More and more, you'll be less defined by your controlling tendencies and more defined by the flow, by love's centered spontaneity. Do this, and not only will the universe open up and reveal its secrets, so will the people you meet at social gatherings. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent more than 8 hours a day every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. This morning's text is kind gaze's easy meditation, and a fool might worship or supplicate kind gaze as if he or she was an entity, but the wise treat kind gaze merely as an archetype whose iconography reminds us that we are already wired by a happy coincidence of evolution to master awareness and letting go, bliss and letting go, as well as love and letting go. We're going to flip and flop between silent meditation and mantra meditation. So let's begin by reviewing the mantra's meaning. Om I invoke the wish of ending Mani jewel of love and the purifying baby lotus of letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. So, as I inferred in the opening, the entirety of the Buddhist path can fit into 4 categories: preliminary practices, awareness and letting go, bliss and letting go, and love and letting go. We're going to begin with bliss and letting go, a technique known in Tibet as Lama Khyentno, or calling the teacher as if from afar. The bronze here represents our enlightened potential. This copulating couple in the color of red remind us literally of the teachings and figuratively of real or imagined sensations that we might experience at the crown of our head. So here's the secret to making... I got a snide comment. Oh, what a surprise to get a snide comment on YouTube. But I got a snide comment on YouTube where someone wrote, The monotonous chanting of mantra is the furthest thing from spirituality. Thank you for pontificating, sir or ma'am. But did you know there's a difference between mantra recitation and mantra meditation? One is mindless and one is productive. So how do we do that? How do we convert mindless mantra recitation into productive mantra meditation? Simple. During our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite this italicized statement, which is the synopsis of the explanation I just gave you. During the exhalation, we strive to physically relax as best we can while trying to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. The key is the relaxation. Now, please, oh please, give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us rest in the nature of mind. But how do we do that? Let us begin with mindfulness. And by the way, we turn our attention now to awareness and letting go. Beginning with mindfulness, we ask the rhetorical question, what is our sympathetic nervous system? Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, located not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears. It is ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It evolved neither to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Instead, it evolved to simply perceive, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The more poetic have insisted that vulnerability is the price we pay for mindfulness. Perhaps that is why Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra are depicted as naked. Well, if we're not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breath, then what do we do with our breath? What if we simply treated our breath the way a piano student treated their metronome? When we notice our body breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite the 12 syllables, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And what if whenever we noticed our body exhaling, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature? Now, is this 12-syllable exercise clunky? Yeah, sure, you betcha. But it's an excellent shoehorn. It's an excellent introduction. I assure you, within 15 minutes, you'll be doing a monosyllabic meditation. You'll be monosyllabically meditating like a champ. But I found it's useful to ease into it, kind of like easing into a jacuzzi. Let us turn our attention to the outer set of preliminary practices. This is deeply influenced by the final meditation manual dictated by the late Tibetan yogi Za Paltrul Rinpoche. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist philosophy, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. I'll be elated to answer your question. So the key to transforming mindless mantra recitation into productive mantra meditation is this. During our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite this italicized bit. And during our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Seeing change fuels release. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us flow from love's centered spontaneity. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung. I should say, let us flow from love's centered spontaneity that is the byproduct or fringe benefit of a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let's start. Before we practice a bit of the old awareness and letting go, let's start with a bit of review. Every time we inhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we're wired to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We can notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. This begs the question, what do we do with all this stuff? How do we handle it? And the answer is meditation. Because every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, whether we intend to or not, we access the parasympathetic nervous system. It too is found in the spinal cord, but this time in both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And it has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Thus, every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less graspable. Now, since all complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically, let us add a bit of the old figurative language into this explanation. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Any English teacher worth their salt will remind us that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although it could be tantalizing to the eye, is actually rather non-graspable to the hand. Perhaps that is why Kuntu Zongpo and Kuntu Zongmo Yabium are depicted as translucent and as non-graspable as a rainbow. During our next set of awareness and letting go, during this set of awareness and letting go, during our inhalation, please silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding our bodies to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head, as if removing our head from the warm, dark place we sometimes keep it. During our exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. We turn our attention now to the inner set of preliminary practices. May we yearn to free all living beings from the tyranny of the 3 mental poisons. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. To do that, to facilitate us, may we rely on the 3 jewels of the Buddha's example, the Buddha's instructions, and the Buddha's students. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Let us do our best to enthusiastically learn from our mistakes. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. And now in an exercise, well, let's try this again. So there's a wonderful exercise in Tibet known as Cho. And the idea is you rehearse your death, pretending to eject your mind up your central channel and out your crown. And then gaze back at your cadaver, your dead body, your former body, and all your former possessions, and give all that stuff to others. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Before we practice awareness and letting go, let us explore the first of two fringe benefits of a consistent practice of mindfulness and meditation. We'll start with a bit of the bad news. When we rely on active concentration and active contemplation, our blood coalesces at the base or the bottom of our limbic system, a bit of tissue about the size of a pea, known as the amygdala, which functions as the seat of anxiety and aggression, the emotional equivalent of the filthy McNasties. Fortunately, when we replace active concentration with passive mindfulness, when we replace active contemplation with passive meditation, that blood mass shifts to a hunk of meat a few centimeters behind our forehead, described as the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. This is why, for many, many centuries, the Dzogchen Lamas have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Perhaps that is why all good mother and father, sporting in tantric union, are depicted as beautiful. During our inhalation, please silently and mentally recite, notice this. During our exhalation, please silently and mentally recite, relaxing. We now come to our second exercise of bliss and letting go. During the next 4 inhalations, we could silently and mentally recite Lama blend with heart mind. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. This brings us to our second set of fringe benefits that come from the practice of mindfulness and meditation. Consider this gal with the color of a cumulus cloud, actively sporting in tantric union. This reminds us that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. Now turn your attention to our partner, who appears to be passively enjoying the same tantric union. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is created equal, and that the scattered spontaneity that you might experience after your third espresso will always be trumped by the centered spontaneity that is the product of mindfulness and meditation. In fact, when our choices, utterances, and deeds flow with the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our life could be as blissful as the real or imagined paradise or pure land of a real or imagined Buddha. As we inhale, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we kick back and watch the antics of mind. During our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we relax into I have trouble with that consonant, mind's non-graspable nature. Together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, please type your question in great detail in the chat window, where I will be elated to answer your question. Let us bring our experience of the four bases of mindfulness, which would be the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental, into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. During the next four exercises, we're going to continue playing with an italicized statement followed by mantra meditation. And what makes it mantra meditation is that we are physically relaxing as we are verbally chanting this mantra 4 times per breath. However, what's unique about the next 8 exercises is they are highly metaphoric. The first 4 exercises have love as their common denominator. The second 4 exercises will have letting go as their common denominator. So bija here, it represents a one-syllable mantra that symbolizes a real or imagined Buddha's enlightened mind. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. In this context, a mantra symbolizes the love of a real or imagined Buddha. Speech represents the interpersonal. Specifically, directly, it's a synonym for communication, both verbal and nonverbal. Indirectly, it's a metaphor of our experience of the interpersonal. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Metaphors can be so tricky. Why use them? All complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. When through the skillful use of figures of speech, we're able to cut through the crap and really get at the essence of our mind. In this context, a yidam refers to an archetype of enlightenment. And in Buddhist statues and in Buddhist tapestries known as tankas, these archetypes are depicted as beautiful and healthy. And so we're wishing that all bodies of all beings enjoy such health. Now, it is not our job to visualize or emote or believe. If all we do is simply play with words, we'll be exercising the neural pathways responsible for empathy. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. And remember, during the mantra, we are physically relaxing as best we can while striving to chant this mantra 4 times per breath. We now wish. So avati is a Sanskrit word for Pure Land or paradise. And so what we're wishing is that all circumstances of all beings, real or imagined, enjoy the very good fortune and safety of a Buddha's real or imagined paradise. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us prepare for our next practice of awareness and letting go. But first, let us recall that that just as all good one, it's just as the all good one sporting and tantric union, we too are already wired by a happy coincidence of evolution to possess a sympathetic nervous system optimized for mindfulness, a parasympathetic nervous system optimized for meditation, and an anterior cingulate gyrus optimized for empathy. This is exactly what the ancients referred to or meant by our Buddha nature. That is why the Buddha taught that it is possible to master his teachings in as little as a week. During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we kick back and watch the antics of mind. During our exhalation, let's silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we physically relax into mind's non-graspable nature. As promised, the next 4 exercises we're going to emphasize letting go. So as we relax into the recitation of this mantra, all minds, even though all minds of all beings can perceive, emote, intend, reason, and recall quite clearly, as we relax into our exhalation, they can begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a syllable comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So here's the secret to making the most here's the secret to transforming mantra recitation into mantra meditation. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite an italicized bit. During our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. As we inhale, our experience of the interpersonal could seem rather resounding. However, as we relax into our recitation of the mantra, the all beings experience of the interpersonal could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined mantra comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, all bodies of all beings could seem rather sensual. However, as we relax into the recitation of this 12-syllable mantra, all bodies of all beings could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined archetype of enlightenment comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, all circumstances of all beings, real or imagined, could appear to us somewhat vividly, and yet, as we relax into the recitation of this mantra, they could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined Buddha's paradise comprised only of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us watch the play of mind as silently and mentally we recite this, and let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite ease, in harmony, of course, with our inhalation and our exhalation. Thus far, we have practiced preliminary practices, bliss and letting go, awareness and letting go, as well as love and letting go. This is the essence of the entire path of enlightenment, from Sutra to Tantra, from Samsara to Nirvana. Let us now explore the dance of impermanence and interdependence. As we breathe in, our experience of the circumstantial could seem rather vivid. However, as we relax into our exhalation, it could begin to feel as if the circumstantial was impermanently melting into rainbow light that could interdependently absorb into our body. Ironically, we're taking the pathology of our own self-centeredness and using it as a catalyst for wisdom. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, all bodies of all beings could seem rather sensual, yet as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, it could feel as if all bodies of all beings were blissfully melting into rainbow light that then interdependently absorbed into our faculty of our experience of the interpersonal. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, our experience of the interpersonal could seem rather resounding, and yet as we relax into the recitation of this mantra, it could begin to feel as if it was as impermanent, as if it was impermanently melting into blissful rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into our awareness. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we breathe in, our experience of awareness, emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination could appear to us rather clearly. And yet as we relax into the recitation of the mantra, it could feel as if it was blissfully melting into rainbow light that interdependently absorbed into a vast empty void of universal non-graspability. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Having chanted the mantra 32 times, let us now rest in awareness and letting go, in harmony with our inhalation and exhalation. I'm going to adjust something for a moment. And I'm going to verify, I'm going to check on the display, because sometimes it goes wonky. Now, for the remainder of this morning's practice, let us bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite relaxing into this. And as we breathe out, well, I should say, and during our... Then let us physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 12 syllables 4 times per breath. But first, I keep meaning to look this up. Maybe you could look this up for me and get back to me in the chat window. When did Faith No More release Epic? Whether it was the late 80s or early 90s, there was this wonderful line, "What is this? What is this?" So in this circumstance, this is whatever we notice as we breathe in, whatever we notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Whether it is a sight or a sound or a sensation or a flavor or a scent or the like. Whether it is an emotion or an intention or a thought or a memory or an imagining. Whether it is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Let's just label it as this. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. During our inhale, let us watch the play of mind, and during our exhalation, let us relax into its non-graspable nature. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi mani mimi mani mimi. The key to this exercise is physically relaxing as best you can into the recitation of the mantra. Om mani mimi 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 Om mani mimi 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 Om mani mimi 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 During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, may we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease. Om mani mimi mani mimi 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 We can apply the label this to anything, even boredom. Om mani mimi mani mimi 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 Om mani mimi yung 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 om om mani mimi yung 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 But to seal this morning's practice with the love that wishes for the universal mastery of Buddha's Eightfold Path, together. May whole master change in wishing love as well as kind communication, conduct, and calmness. May whole master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity as well as mindfulness and meditation. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.